Good afternoon, everyone. For your information, we are recording this session and participants will receive a copy of the recording. My name is Joanne Bujaya. I'm from Solid Cad in Toronto, and we will be going through what's new in Review 2018. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Steve, you can go to the next slide. Just a little bit of a brief history about Solid Cad. We started as a company in 1996, and not to bore you with a little bit of the history in between, but we did merge with Cancel. Many of you will be familiar with that company a couple of years ago, and today we are a very proud Canadian-owned and operated company. We're one of the largest Autodesk Platinum resellers in Canada, and we're a very proud Platinum reseller of Bluebeam as well in Canada. So we're very proud of these accomplishments. Thank you very much. Bluebeam is one of our particularly important products. Next slide, please. We have training facilities across Canada to help you out if you ever do need assistance with your Bluebeam training products. We have training facilities from sea to shining sea, all the way from Burnaby through Calgary, Edmonton, Regina, Winnipeg. We have facilities in Toronto, in Vaughan, Ottawa, Quebec, Montreal, and Fredericton as well. So if you ever do need training on Bluebeam products, you can come to us and we will certainly help you out. Next, please. Just a little bit more about Solid Cad. We have over 75 employees in all of these facilities across Canada. We have been in business for over 28 years, and we support various architectural, construction, infrastructure, manufacturing, and even media and entertainment industries. And we're, once again, very proud and Canadian-owned and operated. So we can certainly help you out when it comes to your Bluebeam and AEC infrastructure manufacturing products. Next, please. And just a little bit more detail about what we do. We do training, of course, data management, BIM consulting, simulation analysis, product lifecycle management. You've probably had a lot of experience with us, and we certainly would like to help you out in anything that you'd like to consult with us. And of course, technical support. These are our specialities, and I'd like to quickly introduce our speaker for today on Bluebeam. His name is Steve Jones. He's a channel sales manager, the sales team at Bluebeam, and he takes care of the sales and distribution management team for all of North America. So please help me welcome Steve Jones.
All right, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here today. I just want to say thanks to all the folks that are dialed into the webinar and taking some time to learn about what's new in Review 2018. And I just want to take a moment to make sure that the audio is okay. If somebody could just kind of type in the chat window and just let me know that you can hear me okay, you can see my screen. I just want to make sure that that's all right before I move any further along here. Great, so I'm getting some messages saying everything's all good, so that's great. We're going to keep moving along here. As many folks may have heard, we actually just had a new release last month. So Review 2018 came out on April 11th, and we're very excited to show you all the new stuff this year. That's really going to be the focus of this presentation, is comparing the new version versus the previous one and hitting on what exactly has changed. Now, just a little bit about Bluebeam as a company. We develop PDF workflow solutions that are really catered towards AEC and technical workflows. For anybody that's working with drawing sets or with 3D PDFs or needing to collaborate on designs, that's something that is very much in our wheelhouse, and we help to enable. And you can see a great quote from one of our customers there. So what do we enable at a high level? We help our customers to be more productive to improve their project predictability by implementing workflow standards and helping to standardize best practices across their organization. And we also help them to minimize their risk on projects by helping to better track collaboration and kind of who said what and when, and having better record keeping for their collaboration. So how do we do it? We have the best markup features in the game. We help to enable collaboration not only with the local documents, but in the cloud as well with Studio, our cloud collaboration platform. We help customers to expedite their workflows. We are built upon an open platform, so the PDF file format is an open file format. So if you work with the PDF in Bluebeam Revu and send it to somebody with another PDF application, they can still open and view it just the same. So we're not locking you into a proprietary file format. And lastly, Bluebeam Revu is really a product that is easy to adopt and scale. So the learning curve is not terribly steep, and it's relatively straightforward to deploy that across your organization and all your different teams. And that's absolutely something that Solid Cad can assist you with as well. Now, going into Revu 2018, the biggest difference between Revu 2018 versus previous releases is we did have a substantial update to our interface. So our interface is very much new and improved. It's designed to be a lot more intuitive. You can get what you need to get done accomplished in less clicks. It's easier for new users to pick up and learn, and it's easier for existing users to discover new features that maybe they didn't even know about and haven't been able to utilize yet. So a few other things that are also new in this release, which I'll show you in a live demo very shortly here, is we do have a new Properties Toolbar, which makes it a lot easier to adjust markup properties kind of on the fly. We've improved the experience working with our side panel, so it's easier to get to the tools that you're using frequently. Our Studio interface, Studio is that cloud collaboration platform, is greatly improved. It's a lot more user-friendly, particularly when uploading files and folders, and I'll show you more about that shortly here. And custom keyboard shortcuts. This is a huge one. So believe it or not, the all-time most requested feature that we've gotten from customer requests, not just in the last year, in the entire history of our company, the most requested feature was custom keyboard shortcuts. And that has become a reality in 2018. So you can now create your own shortcuts for commands or change existing shortcuts to your preferences. And I'll show you that as well. And lastly, there is now an in-app onboarding experience. So this is going to help your new users, or maybe people who are just new to Revu 2018, to get more quickly acclimated and trained on how to best utilize the software with that in-app onboarding experience. So with that, let's jump into the live demonstration. I'm sure everyone wants to see it in action. So I'm just going to minimize PowerPoint here. And I figured there's really no better way to compare and contrast the 2018 version versus the 2017 version than to quite literally put them side by side. So what we're looking at here is I have Revu 2017, the old version, on the left-hand side of my screen here, and I've got 2018, the new version, on the right-hand side here. So as I'm speaking to some of the changes in the interface, I'm going to literally have them side by side so you can see them together and exactly what is different and what has changed. So the first thing I'd like to address is I'm sure for the folks that are on the webinar, you've already noticed 2017 versus 2018, there's far less icons at the top. So in 2017, we have sort of this, this ribbon at the top, and you toggle between these tabs and then view different things on the ribbon. In 2018, instead, we just have these nice drop-down menus with all the tools there. The reason that we did this, well, several reasons, is for one, it gives you more screen real estate for the document that you're interacting with. And then secondly, it helps to accomplish that goal of making Revu 2018 more discoverable than previous versions. Now, what I mean by that is we got a lot of feedback from our customers that there's a ton of features and functionality in Revu, but it wasn't always super easy to find all these different features, and they felt like there was a lot of things that they didn't know about because they weren't very easy to find. So we've moved to having kind of these drop-down menus where you can see right in front of you all the different features and functionality you have available for you there. To give you a specific example of how this has helped our customers, looking at the batch tools here, there is a batch OCR feature right there, and that's actually not a new feature. We've had it for a few years now. One of our beta testers that was testing 2018 for us commented on how they were really excited about the batch OCR feature, and they didn't even realize that it had been in the software for several years. It's just previously in the old interface, it wasn't super easy to find, and now it's right there in front of you, and that customer is now able to benefit from that feature that they didn't even know that they already owned. So this kind of speaks to what I was talking about better discoverability. Now, continuing to move along through the interface, in 2017, the old version on the left, you'll notice that we have these blue pull tabs that you can pull open to access a lot of these side panels here, and then I can kind of click through all these various tabs. Now, this also was a little challenging particularly for new users that didn't know exactly where the tab was that they were searching for. So we've really streamlined this a lot in the new version. So jumping to the new version on the right-hand side, we no longer have these blue pull tabs. However, if I hover over the boundaries of this panel, you'll notice that it highlights kind of a blue line there. I can also click and drag this out, so similar functionality. But also now we have all these great little icons for the different side panels that you can jump into. It makes it a little easier to navigate these different tabs and find the tools that you need. Also, just like before, I can right-click and either display or hide some of the different side panels that I'm using. So let's say that I'm working with a lot of digital signatures. I can toggle that on and now see my digital signatures. And conversely, if I'm not really using that at all, and I just want to clean up my interface so it's not cluttered, I can just right-click and hide that as well. So you still have that high degree of customization that you can do within the interface of Revu. Something else that's really cool that's a quality of life improvement, so to speak, is for this markups list at the bottom. If I go to, for example, 2017, the old version on the left, again, there's that blue pull tab. I can pull this up and view my markups list there. It wasn't always super intuitive for folks to find that. So now we have this handy button right here where no matter where you are in the software, you can just click on this button and pop open that markups list in one click and have easy access to it. So it just makes accessing the markups list a little easier than it was before. Now, going back to what I was talking about displaying some of these tabs or hiding them, just like in the previous version, you can customize the interface and then save that as what's called a profile. So I have all these different profiles which are loaded in the software ahead of time. And you can see here that I actually made a custom profile as well. And if I jump into that custom profile, it's going to adjust the interface to exactly how I had it set up with the tools that I selected to be toggled on, as well as the tabs that I want to be toggled on. So profiles did exist in the old versions as well. They just live in a slightly different location. So in the old version, I had to go to View, and then it would show up in my ribbon here, and then I could select the profile this way. In the new version, I've got this Review drop-down, and it's right here, easy for me to select, and I can switch profiles that way. So just a little easier to find and to use than before. Something else that I want to jump into that is an enhancement in the 2018 interface is what's called the Dynamic Properties Toolbar. Now, essentially, this toolbar right here at the top is going to dynamically change depending on what I'm doing in the software to give me quick and easy access to settings that are most appropriate to whatever I'm doing. So right now, since I just have a document open, I'm not doing any markups or anything special like that. The dynamic properties are pretty simple. It's just showing me the document properties. Now, if I zoom in and let's actually, and you know what, I'm going to maximize 2018 so it's a little easier to see. If I zoom in and select this markup as an example, you'll notice this properties panel or properties toolbar has changed now. So now I have all of these different visual properties that I can adjust on the fly. So maybe I want to change that line to green and my fill to be green, and maybe I want to change my font size and so on and so forth. I can adjust that sort of on the fly very quickly there. Now, how this compares to 2017, if I jump into the old version, let's select that exact same markup. So you'll notice when I select it in the old version, I don't have necessarily all the properties right at the top. I need to dive into the side panel, find this properties tab, and then I can update some of the visual properties here. Now, it's not that this is a really terribly cumbersome process, but it's just not super intuitive, particularly for new users, to know that you have to specifically go into the side panel and find this one tab to update it. So the new version is just a lot more user-friendly. You can just select the markup, and you've got all your properties right here at the top, easy access. So that's a big improvement, quality of life improvement in 2018 is that dynamic properties toolbar. Now let's go back into talking about some of these side panels here. Let's pop open the side panel again. I want to use my tool chest as an example here. So if for the folks on the line that have used Bluebeam Revu before, you've probably had some experience working with the tool chest where you can save custom markups. One piece of feedback that we got from a lot of customers is it would be nice to easily be able to adjust the size of these thumbnail images. And this is something that you can do in 2018 now. So we've got this handy slider here. I can just on the fly adjust these icons to be smaller if I want to see more icons at a time, or larger if I want them to be more easily visible. This is particularly useful if, let's say, you're working on a small laptop screen, or maybe like on a Surface Pro tablet, and you want these icons to be very large and easy to select. You can scale them larger. or vice versa. So really nice to have that flexibility. You can do the same on the other tabs. So for example, I'm on my thumbnails panel where I can see a thumbnail of this page we're looking at. I can adjust this to be larger or smaller as well. So some nice improved flexibility there. Looking at the tool chest, another improvement that we've implemented is we've made it easier to toggle different tool sets off and on. So looking at the tool chest, I've got my architect review tool set, my contractor review tool set, my engineer review tool set, and several more. If I want to toggle these off and on, now up here at the top in tool chest, I can just click this drop down and you can see all these selected. If I want to toggle off my contractor review tools, I can just click that and you'll notice that they're now hidden. If I want to bring them back, I just select that and toggle them back on. So just a lot more sort of easier on the fly adjustments to the different tool sets that you're using. So that's another improvement in the 2018 version. Something else that I want to dive into that is a little easier is in the markups list, managing your columns. So in the past, the way that I would adjust some of the columns in my markups list, let's go back to the old version. So we're back in the old version 2017 now. So the way that I would adjust these columns in the past is I open the markups list and I have a specific drop down just for columns here, and this is where I would toggle them off or on there. And again, that's not terrible by any means, but in the new version, rather than having a totally separate drop down just for columns, now I can just click this markups list drop down, and right here at my fingertips, I've got all of my options for columns again, so I can toggle these off and on however I would like. And then also in that same drop down, I've got my markups options to import markups from other users. If, let's say that somebody else independently marked up their own copy of this drawing and I just want to pull in all their markups onto my copy, import would allow me to do that. Or if I want to export markups to somebody else, I can do that here. And then lastly, capture. If I want to create a capture summary or export my capture media, I can easily do it here. So what's happened here is we've taken three separate menus or three separate kind of drop downs, and we've consolidated it into one cohesive drop down. So you're able to get to what you need to do faster and with less clicks. Something else that's really neat that we've introduced in 2018 is this button right here to quickly hide markups. So if I want to view this drawing without any markups on it, I can just click on this hide markups button and immediately toggle off all of the markups so that I'm just looking at the PDF content. And then vice versa, I can click it and bring all of my markups back. This was another very commonly requested feature that we've implemented in 2018, and I think it's really, really super helpful. Something else that is a little easier in 2018 is setting up filters. So right here, I now have an option to immediately clear all of my filters if I so choose. Before I had to kind of toggle off each individual feature, or excuse me, filter. And just like before, you're able to filter on any column that you would like. So as I'm clicking this filter, you'll notice the different options that are presented to me. I'll use subject as an example, and let's filter down to only my architect comments. You'll notice as we look at the drawing that only my architect comments are still in color, so they pop out at you. The other markups are sort of grayed out, so it makes them not as visible. But I can just, again, go clear all and clear those filters and bring back all those markups there. So just a little easier usability in terms of filtering the markups list. Something else that's new and really cool in this version is when you're doing a markups list summary. Let's say I'm going to do a PDF summary. In the past, you could only export a summary for the specific document that you happen to be looking at. But in the new version, I can do multiple files. So if I wanted to add more files or more folders and subfolders and do just one giant markup summary report for all those different documents, I can do that right from the summary page. Additionally, in the past, before you did the summary, you had to set up all your filters and columns in the markups list ahead of time in order to get the export that you wanted. But it was really something that you had to know about ahead of time, so it wasn't super user-friendly to change on the fly. So that's no longer the case. Now I can quickly apply additional filters right here from the summary page, and I can also toggle off and on whatever specific columns I want to be on this report easily from this summary page as well. So this is another quality of life improvement, just giving you a lot more flexibility to adjust what shows up on your summary report without having to know exactly how you want to have it set up ahead of time. So just a lot more user friendly. So with here, let's switch gears and let's talk about Studio. So Studio is our cloud collaboration platform. It's included with all of our versions of Revu. So if you have seats of Revu, you already have access to Studio. And I'm going to show you the Studio experience in the old version and then in the new version so we can compare and contrast. So let's go back to our split screen view. I'll go ahead and hide that right there. Let's go back to split screen and view them side by side. So again, I've got the old version on the left-hand side of the screen and the new version on the right-hand side of the screen. In the old version, the way that you would access Studio is you would go into whichever side panel you had Studio on. You click on Studio and go ahead and log in. You have all of your sessions and projects that show up kind of all in one long list. So you find the one that you're looking for. So I'm going to go into the Solid Cad demo project. And in Studio Projects, you have this folder structure depending on how you upload things. You can double click on these files to open them up. And Studio Projects is sort of a check-in, check-out model. So only one person can actively be making changes to one document at a time. So I basically click on this drop-down and I can check out this drawing and start working on it. And when I'm done, I can check it back in to update the server copy. Now, what was challenging about this older version is that if I wanted to add in files or folders, you could not simply click and drag the folders in there. You had to actually right click and then I could upload files or upload folders, and then I would have to find where those files or folders were saved on my hard drive. So just a few extra clicks to find what you're looking for. Something else that was challenging about projects in the old version is that if you were working with multiple Studio projects and you wanted to be able to bounce between multiple ones, you were limited to only having one Studio project open at a time. So if I needed to switch to another one, I had to completely leave this project that I was working on and then jump into that other project that I wanted to look at. So again, just not the most user-friendly experience if you're jumping between lots of Studio projects. So let's switch gears here and let's look at that in 2018 in the new version. So in the new version, on the right-hand side of my screen, I access Studio from this handy icon right here. And unlike the old one, which just showed you a slightly intimidating list of all your sessions and all your projects in one big list, it breaks it out into projects and sessions, so I can quickly toggle between the two. And I've also got these handy filters where I can filter it down to just my sessions or projects that I've created, or just other people's that I've attended, or I can see everything, or I can sort by when I most recently accessed them, name, ID. So it just makes it a lot more, a lot easier to navigate. If you've got a lot of sessions and projects you're working with, it makes it easier to navigate around and find specifically what you need. I'm going to go ahead and maximize this so it's a little easier to see. Now, let's jump into that Solid Cad demo project again. And you'll notice that the interface looks substantially different. So I still have this folder tree structure in the side panel that I can click through if I want. But I can also click through some of the folders right here in the middle of my screen as well to navigate around there too. Now, something else that's really cool is in the new version of Revu in Studio, you can click and drag files and folders into here. So it's almost like the sort of functionality you would see in like, you know, Google Drive or Dropbox or something like that, where you can just drag in a folder. It makes it easy to do that. So let me actually just pick something to upload here. So how about this material takeoff PDF? I'm just going to click and drag it, and you'll notice that it just dropped it right there into my Studio project. So a lot easier to upload stuff in there. Something else that is really cool working with Studio in 2018 is you can have multiple projects open at the same time. So let's say I also need to work on this demo project and grab some files from there. I can double click that. It's just going to open up this project in another tab. So I am in two different projects at the exact same time, and that's no problem at all. So for those users that are jumping between Studio projects, your quality of life is about to go up a lot, being able to have more than one open at the same time. We also have some improvements to Studio Sessions as well. So jumping into Studio Sessions, which is more sort of real-time collaboration, I'll jump into, for example, this, actually, you know what, that's a bad example. Let me pick another one that actually has some markups on it. So I have this demo session that different folks have joined and placed some markups on. If you look at this record here on the left-hand side of the screen, I've got this running record of when people joined, left, what they did. I can see that I moved this cloud here. I can select that to jump to, you know, what was changed there. This running record is great, but as you can see, it very quickly gets long. And if you have a session open for a long period of time and people are doing a lot, it's a lot to sift through it, and it can be difficult to find specific entries that you're looking for. So a big improvement with 2018 is you can now filter this report. So if I want to only see when people changed markups, I can adjust my filters where the only thing that is displayed is markup changes. And now this becomes a lot easier to sift through. Or let's say I only want to see the chat messages that were sent here. I can filter down to just the chat messages. So again, just a lot easier to find the specific information you need. It makes it a lot less intimidating than in older versions. And just like before, you can create a summary report for all of the activity that happened in this session. So you have a nice handy package of all the documents you were working with and exactly what sort of activity transpired in the session as well. So the next thing I want to jump into is talking about custom keyboard shortcuts. So this is actually something that I cannot show side by side with the old version because it didn't even exist at all in the previous version. As I said, a really common request was to be able to create custom keyboard shortcuts or to override the defaults for keyboard shortcuts. And the way that you do that in 2018 is just right here in this review drop down in the top left. I've got keyboard shortcuts right here. So just 2 clicks and I could get to all my keyboard shortcuts. You can see all of the default keyboard shortcuts for markup tools here. And then also up here at the top, I can toggle over to commands and you can see some of my different commands that I can do as well. And not all of them necessarily have hotkeys assigned to them, but you can absolutely assign some of your own. So let's take a look at how to do that. And I'm going to use this arrow tool as an example. So let's say that for my specific workflow that I'm doing, I'm using the arrow hotkey constantly. And I really don't want it to be A, I want it to be Q instead of A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this arrow, and it's telling me that the shortcut is A. So I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to do Q instead. And what it's telling me here is that Q is actually already assigned to another tool. It's assigned to my callout. And I have a couple of options here. One is that I can just look for some other options, and maybe I can do T or maybe M, etc. So I can keep just looking for something that's available. Or if I don't want to do that, I just want to override whatever was taking that hotkey, I can just do reassign. So you can see that I just reassigned arrow to be Q now. So now anytime I hit Q, it'll jump to my arrow key. Now, callout used to be Q. Now I overrode that, so it just sort of deleted the hotkey for callout. So let's say I want callout to be A. I can go ahead and set it as A and add, and now I've got a hotkey for callout as well. So very easy to update this stuff on the fly. And hotkeys, just like profiles and tool sets, they can be exported out to other users. So if you want to export your settings and share them with other users, you can absolutely do that. Conversely, if you want to import hotkeys that somebody else sent you, you can do that from this import command right there. So this is particularly useful. Let's say that your organization, you have certain teams that are repeatedly using specific markup tools, and you want to make it easier on your users by setting up some hotkeys for them. You can do that and then easily share those across all your different users. So from here, I want to go into that in-app onboarding experience. So I mentioned that for brand new Revu 28 users, the first time that they open up the software, there is an in-app onboarding experience to make that onboarding process a little easier for them and help them get acclimated more quickly. So if you go to the help menu right here, welcome to Revu, this is actually what you're going to see just by default the first time that you open Revu 2018. So this is immediately going to pop up. You have a cool, 1 minute, just quick overview video of 2018. You've got a sample floor plan right here in the software. If you click that, this is the exact same floor plan that we've been looking at in this webinar. So you actually will have a copy on your own that you can test and train on. So that's right there. And we've got some review tutorials there. If you click on that, we've got specific workflow tutorials on how to use markup tools, form quantity takeoffs, collaborate in Studio, managing your documents, drawing management, and field issues. So these are the 6 that are preloaded with the software. And the plan is that over time, we're going to be adding some additional content in there that covers other workflows. We want to make it as easy as possible for our customers to learn the new version and get acclimated. And we also want to make sure that they're fully aware of all the features that they have available to them so they can benefit from that. So really great in-app onboarding experience. Like I said, you'll see this just by default when you first open up the application. If you ever want to reference back to it, you just go to Help, and it's this option right here, Welcome to Review, and this will pop open this screen again. So the last thing that I want to hit on before we recap and then open it up to some Q&A at the end here is talking about view mode versus markup mode. Now, in the past, we actually had a standalone product that was a free viewer. It was called Bluebeam Revu, VU, and it was kind of a read-only viewer. And essentially, it was available for folks that did not have licenses of review to use in order to view documents, and it also allowed them to jump into that cloud collaboration platform called Studio and have access to sessions and projects. There was a few pieces of feedback that we got from customers. One was that for folks that were maybe having to bounce between a full-blown license to just a viewer, they kind of wish that they didn't have to have a completely separate standalone install in there. And also for our customers that are utilizing the open licensing model, which is that kind of floating concurrent user licensing model, they did not like the fact that, if somebody just opened a drawing in Review and all they were doing is just looking at it, not marking up or doing anything like that, that was still kind of taking up one of their licenses. So they really wish that there was more flexibility to kind of switch to a viewing only mode so they weren't kind of sucking up one of their licenses. So we took all of that customer feedback, and what we've done is we've gotten rid of that standalone free viewer, and we've set it up where right within Review, you can switch between view mode and markup mode. So markup mode is essentially working as normal within Review where all of your features are unlocked. I can switch over to view mode I think I need to, I think it didn't like that I had that document open. If I switch over to view mode, now it essentially switches me to view only mode. So if I open up this floor plan again, I can look at it and I can view the markups in the markups list, but I cannot place any new markups on there because I'm only in view mode. Now, if I was an open licensing customer, the great thing about being in view mode is that I'm not taking up one of our licenses. Now, let's say that now I need to place some additional new markups on here. All I have to do is just switch over to markup mode. If I was an open license customer, it would check out a license for me, and all my markup tools are unlocked again. I can drop that markup onto that document as normal. So just some increased flexibility switching between full-blown Review versus the view-only reader there, and not having to install a completely separate application. So with that, that's really the material we wanted to cover today regarding the interface changes and the updates to 2018. We here at Bluebeam, we definitely we think that 2018 is our best release yet. We think that this interface really helps to make the software more powerful and intuitive than it's ever been. We've gotten a lot of great feedback from customers thus far, and I hope for all the folks watching this webinar that you have a great experience with 2018 as well. I want to just jump back into my slide deck here before we jump into the Q&A session. I want to thank Solid Cad again for hosting this webinar. Solid Cad is a platinum partner up there in Canada, and they're a great bunch of folks with a lot of highly trained experts on staff. I've got up on the screen there the contact information for Joanne and Dan over at Solid Cad. If you have any sort of needs, if you have questions, if you want to get your company's licensing upgraded, if you need a quote, if you want to get a trial, anything you need, just reach out to Joanne or Dan. They'll absolutely take great care of you and get you whatever you need there. So with that, we've got about 15 minutes left for our scheduled time. So if you have any questions, just type them in that questions window in the GoToWebinar, and I'm going to see how many of these questions I can answer just live on the air in these 15 minutes. So just one moment here, I'm going to look at what questions we have thus far. So there's one question here. It says, can you save different shortcuts to a profile? I might ask for a little more clarification on that. Was that pertaining to markup tools, or was that hotkeys, or which tabs are selected? I'm not quite sure what we're referring to with shortcuts. The quick answer to all of the above is yes. So all of those things, the tabs, the markup tools, the hotkeys, all of those can be saved within profiles and shared with other people. Okay, it looks like this was referencing hotkeys. So yes, you can absolutely save hotkeys within a profile and share those out with other users. It's not a problem. So it looks like we still have a few folks on the webinar. Feel free to type some questions in there. I don't have any more questions in the queue yet. I'll hang on for a few minutes. Okay, here's a great question. So this was going back to, I was talking about the view mode versus the markup mode, and if you have an open license, the fact that in markup mode you check out a license, and then if you switch to view mode, it checks it back in. The question is, do you need to have an internet connection, a persistent internet connection the whole time? So the answer to that question is you do need an internet connection when you swap modes. So if you go from view mode to markup mode or markup mode to view mode, you do need an internet connection when you swap, because that's when Revu is going to ping our licensing server and either check in or check out a seat for you. But after you switch modes, you do not need a internet connection the whole entire time. So let's say you're headed out to the job site, you're not going to have internet there. If you switch to markup mode and you check out your seat, and then you go to the job site and you have no internet connection, you can still continue using the software for up to 3 days without an internet connection. So it will still work. Keep in mind that all this stuff I'm talking about, this really only pertains to open licensing. The majority of our customers are on perpetual licensing, so this would not really apply to them. For perpetual licensing, it's perpetual. You always have the license registered to your device. You're not going to need to worry about your internet connection at all in that case. Great question. So this was going back to that previous question. If you have an open license, that concurrent license, do you need an internet connection when you first start up the application? The answer is yes. You do need that internet connection when you first start up the application, because that's when it's going to check out that license for you. But again, for perpetual licensing, it's a non-issue that it doesn't matter for them. The next question, is there a way to mark up a document live with another user, say in another office? Potentially 2 or more users, where you could kind of collaborate all at the same time. Yes, absolutely. So that's Studio Sessions. So Studio Sessions, and actually I'm going to jump out of my PowerPoint and go back into Studio Sessions so that you can actually see that. So Studio Sessions, you can have up to 500 simultaneous users marking up and collaborating on the same document at the same time. So if I look at my attendee list, I've had, looks like 6 different people that have attended this session at any given time. I'm the only one that's in here right now. But yes, you could have up to 500 people in there at the same time, marking it up in real time. And as soon as somebody else places a markup, everybody else in the session is going to see that live in real time. So this is, you can apply this across lots of different workflows where one example of where it's really powerful is with design review. You can have all the different folks on the design team just kind of hop into a session and collaborate in real time, rather than having to, email PDFs back and forth, or worse yet, physically mail paper plans back and forth. So that's a great question. Another question regarding Studio Sessions. Is it possible to run a Studio Session on a local server and not in the cloud? The answer to that is yes. So if you want to use the cloud-hosted Studio Sessions, that's just included with Revu, so you already have access to it. It's not an additional fee. If you want to run it locally on your own server, that does require a separate product, and it's just called Studio Server. So you could acquire that product and then set up a studio environment on your own network and host it locally if you don't want to have your stuff on the cloud. So Studio Server is the product you would be looking for. Solid Cad can assist you with more information or pricing on that. If anybody on the call is wondering, for our cloud studio, where specifically is that hosted, we do leverage Amazon. So we use Amazon's cloud services to host our studio environment. So it is very much an enterprise class, highly secure cloud network that we use. And not a question, but talking about Studio Sessions, just more of a comment. He says, design review was exactly what I was thinking of. So great. Yeah, I'm glad I picked a good example there. Yeah, design review is a really, really good application of Studio Sessions, just because you have so many different parties that are needing to collaborate on these drawings. So having that visibility and that real-time updates and tracking and everything is really, really powerful. I don't have any more questions in the questions window. We've got about 6 minutes left, so feel free to type more in there. Okay, it doesn't look like we're getting any more questions, so I think we'll just go ahead and wrap things up here. So once again, I want to thank our partner Solid Cad for putting on this webinar and inviting all the folks today. So I have their contact information up on the screen again. We did record this webinar. And Solid Cad will have a copy of the recording. So if you want to watch this again later or share with your coworkers, you can absolutely do that. You'll have a recording of that. So again, I just kind of want to thank everyone for your time today. I know we're all really busy, so it means a lot that you're taking an hour out of your day to learn more about Revu 2018. And hopefully this was helpful and gives you a good feel for what's new in the new version. So with that, we'll go ahead and call it a day. Thanks everyone for your time, and have a great day. Bye.